I wish someone had talked to me about this topic when I was a little bit younger, because a lot of what I've learned on the go. And I think it's so much easier when you just take time to pause, to have a chat, to reflect, to think, to ask questions, and then be able to make good decisions from there on. Love is deemed a complex emotion, and there's much discussion at the moment with the powers that be about whether animals feel love or not. So they divide emotions into basic emotions and complex emotions. And the basic emotions we have in common with animals. And they're basic emotions, all of us will feel this at one point in time, and we have that in common with the animals. The animals will feel anger, believe it or not. Animals will feel disgust, and they'll feel fear and so forth, and they're the basic emotions that children will also feel, or babies will also feel. Then we get into a little bit more complex emotion, in which love is one of those, because it involves so many other emotions, or can involve so many other emotions, and it's a higher level of emotion, if you like. And then you have contempt, jealousy, sympathy, boredom, shame. They're all a little bit more complex than the basic ones like fear and anger and so forth. Okay, in common with the animals, we all know what that means, and funny enough, we don't even need to learn it from other people. That seems to be an innate reaction when we are provoked. That's how we respond. Now, emotions can be a fleeting thing, that you feel it now, and if you let it pass, a few minutes later it might go away. It could be a persistent thing that comes and goes, and it could really eat into you. It's a very, very powerful thing. Now, of course, different emotions have different levels of experience. So some emotions are really intense and incredibly powerful, and some just seem to be a fleeting thing and pass with time, or you can actually take exercises to allow yourself to be in composure of this particular emotion. But out of all of the emotions, we know that love is the most powerful one. And there's many, many, many studies done on this, and we can talk about love and healing. People who've been on the brink of death, and once the family rallies around them and demonstrates love or acts in a loving way, you can sometimes bring them from the edge of death and illness and suffering and so forth to actually heal and become better. So it's an incredibly powerful emotion. And also, we've all read about love in which one partner kills another partner. That it can be a very destructive emotion as well. So it's harnessing that emotion and making it work for you and making it a positive thing, which of course it was designed to be. Okay, it's an incredibly powerful emotion, as we mentioned earlier. So I think today is an opportunity for us to try and harness this power that we have within us. And I think we need to have some time for reflection and to see how we can improve our loving. And this is all practice for you when you have your own homes, when you become adults in the big world and manage households, manage companies, manage clinics, manage whatever it is you happen to be in your workplace. Okay, some of the emotions, and some of them are, as we see, the baby, uneducated, hasn't been socialized, but can give that expression. And as soon as you see that expression, you know what that expression is. And of course, the lady in the center is from a thriller movie in the 50s, and she's acted this particular scene so well. I thought her face was incredibly expressive. I'd hate to think what's in her, going on in her mind. So it's something that we all identify with and sympathize with. And you wonder how much of it is socialization. Draw your attention to the eyes. I don't want to bog you down with these emotions, but it's incredibly expressive, and you can see how reflective our body gestures are of how we feel inside. And shared, of course, by the animals. And when you're feeling a bit down, you only need to have a look at some of these faces, and straight away it's contagious, and emotions are contagious. So you need to also be careful that if you are around people who are a little bit down, that you don't end up feeling down yourself, but you can also cheer someone else up, and you can trick your brain and you can trick your mind by laughing and joking and lifting yourself up if you are feeling down. Now that's the one that we want to spend most of our talk on, and you can see little children being taught how to kiss, and that's the first thing. If you are around children at home, we always expect them to pucker up and give a kiss to auntie or cousin or mum or whoever it is. And of course this is socialised behaviour, and hopefully that it's something that they continue to develop, not just at that phase and stop there and then because they've learned how to kiss. The culture regulates our responses to certain emotions. So for example, this is not exactly about emotion, but it's about the issue of marriage. So up here, I was really interested in this. It's an Asian culture, very small civilization in history gone by, where the woman has actually married 4 men. Okay, so it's reversed. You hear about men marrying 4 women. In that particular culture where there were not enough women, so the women actually choose their partners, and she can marry 4 or 5, however it is. I mean, they've limited to 4, but she can marry whoever it is. And the bride here is photographed with her 3 grooms. Okay, in another culture, he's happy with his 4 wives, and they're all sisters, and they're all holding hands. And so the culture dictates how that love is manifest. And here, this is present-day culture, and you have the senior man, he's a Mormon. Mormons live in Canada, and he's got so many wives, and all of these are his children. Okay? So the culture dictates to a large extent this concept of love, or how love may be manifest in a particular society. And of course, I've got ours here, which is our culture. Okay, since the dawn of time, love has been an important thing. So don't think that this love concept that we talk about in attraction and romance is a modern day thing. I'm going to briefly mention Adam and Eve, but you know, got poetry, songs by Solomon and other ancient writers. Shakespeare has written much about it, other authors, philosophers, songwriters, movies, you name it, they've dealt with this topic because it is an important one. Okay, now love in the Bible is mentioned across the entire volume or various books in the Bible. But I want to draw to your attention to three places. Because God is love, and everyone who does not love does not know God. Okay, so that's the first thing. If you love God, have a relationship with God, then you need to love other people as well. Because if you don't do that, then you're really void of your knowledge of God. That's the first one. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Okay, and that's the sacrifice bit. And all of you will accept this commandment on your wedding day as you kneel before the altar. You will be asked to love the way Christ loved us. And then the last one, that is 1 Corinthians chapter 13. You can read the whole chapter, but this is the one I'm going to focus on today.
Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres.
Okay, the marriage commandments. Here's some of them that I just downloaded for you for discussion today. So you must know each other and submit yourselves to one another in love and purity. Now I can tell you that when I was taking those vows, I thought to myself, I'm not submitting to anybody, least of all this man. Yes, I love him and everything, but submit is such a word that did not fit into my vocab. Now, as the years rolled, I've been married 20 years, it has given me a different breadth of this terminology. Okay, so it pays for you, before you are at the altar, before you say I love or I don't love, to really understand the implications of what these words are and how you might see yourself in that situation and how you might cope with that. The next one is for the man. My blessed Son, may the grace of the Holy Spirit strengthen you to take unto yourself your wife in purity of heart and sincerity. We're busy being photographed at that stage. I was one of those, and I'll read it later or hear it later. But that is piercing commandment for the day-to-day living. That purity of heart is so important. You cannot keep things in that bottle there. You cannot keep the wrongs that have been done to you as you are in your interaction. Do all that is good for her. Have compassion on her and always hasten to gladden her heart. Now, sometimes when we are in love, it's a pretty selfish thing. I want to be with that person because that person makes me feel good. Okay? Or when we're at the early part of our relationship, we feel really excited to see our fiancé or whoever it is, our prospective partner, because they make us feel good. What are we bringing into the relationship? What are we doing to hasten to gladden their hearts? And that commandment really is for both man and woman. So just some things to think about before it's time for you to accept those. So what does love involve? We've talked about sacrificial love, merciful love, faithful love. And these are the three things that we get from Jesus, that he's done all of that in his life. And of course, all of that is reflected in his character in the Bible, but those three are the top ones. And of course, we talk about respect, faith, hope, charity, all of those positive concerns. Okay, how do you practice love? I think we pride ourselves on being Coptic Orthodox, and we come to church on Sunday and we come to the meetings and we think we're really good people, but here's one for you. I went into a police station one day to have a document signed, and both my children were with me, and the police officer looked at one of the children and asked, and she was not a Christian, and she looked at them and she said, "And did you do something good for someone today?" And the children scratching their heads. Really, that's what it's about. Okay, you need to make it part of, you don't wait for an opportunity for you to help somebody cross the road. You make it your business every day when you rise. You intentionally want to do something good for someone. Okay, whether it be putting the dishes in the sink, clearing the floor, helping somebody in the office with something, assisting somebody in your study area, wherever it is. You make it your business when you rise in the morning that you're going to do something good for someone every day. And then when you are running your own household, you don't even have to think about it. It comes naturally to you. So practicing those extraordinary acts of kindness is really what will get you there. It's a theory. It's a theory. For me, it holds true. The theory is that you have a young person. Before you can teach them anything, you need to provide food, water, shelter, and security. Okay? So you have a child in a war zone. There is no way you're going to teach that child anything because that child is afraid, it is hungry, does not have shelter. So unless you provide the basic needs, you cannot go on to the next level. So you provide the basic needs. The next one is security. When you provide those two, that person now is ready to feel loved and belonging to a community, to a family. And then the self-esteem kicks in. Then purpose, meaning, experience in life. And then finally, self-actualization. Now, I would put to you that most of us would get to that point of self-actualization at the point when we finish our studies and we get a little bit of experience in life. Now, I would put to you that right up until 23, 24, your brain and your body and your hormones is still like this. And I would put to you that it is not good to be forming any lasting relationships while you're in this phase. That's what the sciences tells us. That's what experience tells us. Now, of course, there's always going to be people on either side of the margin. So you'll have people who are younger than that are ready to make that commitment because they've got to this point earlier on, but I would not be thinking 10 years, I'll be thinking a 2 or 3 year margin. And then I would put to you that there would be people who are nearly 30 who are just getting to this point of self-actualization. One of them is going to dominate the other one, and so you might have the person who's got there taking lead and dominating the other partner, or you might have the other partner dragging the other person down. Or you might have multiples of scenarios, but what I'm trying to get across to you is it's not ideal. Okay? What is ideal is that you get yourself ready at this point, to this point of self-actualization where you know who you are, you know where you're going, you know what you want out of life, And you also get your partner to get to this point so that you can then navigate your journey of life together. So that's something that's important in the journey of love. Why is that important? Because you are who you are, and you want to be who you are when you're a couple. Now, of course, you become united and you're one entity, but your personality is still your own. You don't get absorbed into that unity and think, oh, well, whatever he likes, I will do, or whatever she likes, I don't want to upset her, I will just let her. No. You are who you are, and you negotiate, and you work together, you get to the decision-making together. All right, believe it or not, love, as with many emotions, has stages. So the first one is you have a connection with this person, your partner to be, and then you might have a disconnection. We'll talk about why. And then if you are lucky and you choose to follow particular strategies, then you have a reconnection and your bond becomes stronger. Okay. Now, if you're still not committed, you don't need to do this reconnection. Okay. If there are serious gaps here or there's serious issues, then you go your separate ways. That's the wisest thing to do earlier on. Right. In your reconnection phase, you've got, technically speaking, you've now found somebody that you are happy with, that you think is going to fulfill your needs, and that you think you can offer them something to fulfill their needs as well. And you begin a journey together. You have a meeting of the minds. You have shared values. It's a really important thing. You have mutual respect, mutual love, and you feel a sense of belonging with this person. Then what happens? What's this business about nudity? Now remember Adam can fit Nina, and God was speaking to Adam. And Adam says, oh no, God, can't see you now, I'm naked. You know, he was naked before. What is this business about nudity? Why did he suddenly realize he was nude? His eyes were open, and that's what happens in relationships. Okay? During the engagement, bringing flowers, going out together, laughing, joking, everything is beautiful. And then the first minute you have a conflict arising, then you begin to see the ugly side of yourself and the other person. When so far, that other person managed only to bring what is good of himself, of herself, and so forth. And then the first conflict, suddenly they feel nude now. Okay? It's a really important thing. Okay? That when you are seeing this person, this partner, this fiance, this potential person in the journey that you're going to navigate, that you see that person for who they are, so that there isn't that nudity, but that you're realistic about your expectations, you're realistic about the issues. All the people, your parents were once honeymooners and lovey-dovey, and then you see the conflict and you think, oh, I'm not going to be like that. This is not going to happen to me. Well, that's just how it is. It does happen. It's how you navigate those challenges that makes a difference. When you see couples that are really working on this and learning how to love and practicing all those things that we're talking about, and they have really happy lives. Why? It's not because they just happen to be good for each other. It's because they've worked on this in a practical way that we've talked about. The last of the favourite verses, and now these three remain. Faith, hope, love. The greatest of these is love. Now that's in the Bible. And it's reinforcing what we're talking about. The greatest of the emotions is love. It can make somebody rise from an illness, and it can make somebody die from hurt. And it's how you play that emotion that makes the difference. So, my icons here reflect the culture that we were raised in. That when Cinderella finds her prince, she will live happily ever after. And when he finds this beautiful girl that fits the shoe, somehow his life is going to be better. He's read Roald Dahl's revolting poems. He's got a different take on Cinderella. I'll tell you briefly. Cinderella just happens to be this awful, awful, wicked girl who is demanding everything, and she's demanding the godmother to come and help her go to the ball. And the godmother comes and she whisks her in this beautiful gown and dress and so forth. She goes to the ball, the prince is besotted by her. At the stroke of midnight, she has to go back and catches her shoe, and carelessly he puts it down. And while he's bending down to do his shoelaces. One of the ugly stepsisters comes, she takes Cinderella's shoe and she puts her shoe there instead. So the prince takes this shoe and swears that whoever fits this shoe, thinking that it's the same shoe that belongs to Cinderella, he will marry her. So they go around looking for this beautiful princess, and they can't find the beautiful princess. Finally, the ugly stepsister puts her shoe in and it fits. And she says, yes, whoopee, I'm going to be the princess. And so the prince takes a look and thinks, oh, I'm not going her, off with her head. So they chop her head off. Now, as soon as her head is chopped off, the second sister comes along and she's, oh, it's going to fit me because we both feel the same size. So she takes the shoe and she puts it on, and the prince says, I'm not marrying you, off with her head. So all this racket is going on, and Cinderella just peeps in through the door and she sees this beautiful prince that she was dancing with, and her sister's head's on the floor, and she thinks, oh, I can't marry this prince. He's a killer. He's no good for me. So she asks for the fairy godmother to come. Fairy godmother comes and she says, please get rid of him. I don't want him. I just want a simple man that I can be happy with. And then the simple man is a jam maker. He's not a prince. But it's interesting how these myths play out in our psyche from being raised when we were young, and the marketing people are making wonderful dresses to sell us, the Cinderella dresses, and of course the princes looking for their princesses and so forth. So the happily ever after is not the myth, it's what you make it to be, and how hard you work at practicing this thing we call love, so that you can have happy lives.